too ought to be reflected in the final report of the European Parliament. Thank you very much.
The position of the TRAN committee, and now I will give the floor to Mr. Howarth.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, can I thank and congratulate Mr. Novikov on an excellent introduction. It's good to hear a level of politics and passion about transport policy, because it can be viewed, people like me who've spent a lot of time in transport politics are viewed as sort of dry, kind of nerdy people who don't really do people and politics. We do stuff and tarmac and things like that. So it's good to hear it related to the issues that drive this union. There's an apocryphal tale about network infrastructure from the United Kingdom, which, of course, led the world in industrial revolution and so on, and developed fantastic infrastructure for its time, miserably failed to maintain it and invest in it over the years, and those infrastructure failures in a crowded country now have significant impacts on the competitiveness of the United Kingdom. And that's why an approach which focuses on network bottlenecks is a sensible approach to take, because a network bottleneck that happens to be in a wealthy region can impact significantly on the ability of people working in less wealthy regions to take their goods to market, just as Mr. Novikov cited an example of infrastructure in Bulgaria or Romania, which impacts on German lorry drivers, so a piece of infrastructure in Germany will impact on Romanian and Bulgarian lorry drivers. So it's hugely important when we bring this sort of investment to bear that cross-European transport network modelling is effective in demonstrating where we get the best bang for our buck on investment in these schemes, because what appears local on one level can have a significant cross-European impact. And a concrete example of that is two schemes that I was involved in the Thames Valley, a very wealthy region of the United Kingdom, but the investment in those bottleneck schemes, both in road and rail, had some of the most significant impacts on the economies of less wealthy regions in the west of the United Kingdom in terms of their access to the channel and to markets. Let's not mention the B word today. It's probably best not to. So investment bottlenecks, huge potential bang for a buck in terms of their impacts on the network. And also very important because those network bottlenecks produce dramatic, often, air quality impacts locally, which are best addressed by relieving that bottleneck in a way that doesn't absorb capacity and doesn't shift the problem just down the road. I would say in the case of rail bottlenecks, we need to look very carefully at the evidence there, because rail bottlenecks can be just as difficult and can produce just as great a return when we invest properly, but often are less visible because we see the traffic jams. We don't always see how rail congestion impacts on the network. So it's hugely important that we look at the investment. I also believe that if we use this kind of investment properly, we can promote modal shift. Most significantly, modal shift from air travel to rail travel over distances where rail travel is infinitely more sustainable. And, you know, I really welcome the example from my colleague behind me about how we can shift rail infrastructure to green energy. But also, when we're looking at the road network, we will need to bear in mind in the future the effect of the changes in vehicles, which I want to see come about, to more sustainable vehicles, to green energy, to electric vehicles, because infrastructure investment in roads in the future is going to involve investment that greens the road network. And therefore, we also need to be considering, alongside this thing, the implications for the investment in the power network infrastructure, which will go with the future of the vehicle, because that is huge and again has a huge potential positive effect for the whole of Europe. I welcome this report. I believe it can be improved and broadened in the scope of its thinking by one or two constructive amendments, but I thank very much the rapporteur and all of the contributors this morning for an excellent discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker, Mr. Van Nistelrooy.